All right, good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to the second of our series of interviews that we're having with folks throughout our community and beyond. We're calling it 15 minutes of your time, and we try to somewhere stick around that time if we can. And our guest today is Melissa Page. Thank you very much for participating in the interview.
Thank you.
Melissa, you are the general manager for the Dead River Company stores in Holton, Lincoln, Millinocket, and those branches. I got that right, correct?
Correct.
All right. Can you share with our students what your job entails?
Well, the reason why I'm titled a general manager is because my job is totally general. I have about 40 to 45 employees in 3 different locations. I have 3 different offices, as well as bulk plant storage for the products that we deliver. We deliver a variety of oil, kerosene, diesel for like farm application or logging, and then of course propane too. And so my job can range anywhere from working with employees to having safety and regulation issues, because of course being an environmentally impacting company, I have to be very aware of what the rules are and the laws are surrounding that. To working with local schools to talk to kids, to creating ads, to it varies from day to day. I'm responsible financially for, believe it or not, over $10 million in assets. So it's a huge responsibility, and we try to keep everyone safe. And the biggest thing is we are responsible for keeping probably about 6,000 homes warm during the winter. And of course, with the weather that we had the other day, it's a tough job. We had a propane driver that went down into a seasonal location to make the delivery to come back out. And because of the wind, it had knocked down a tree and a line and a transformer. And so the poor guy was stuck down in this remote area. And then you have to call in tow trucks and make sure that Amera is aware. And it's a variety. So when it's general manager, it's totally general manager.
Yeah, it sounds like you wear a lot of hats for sure. You mentioned there that you do a lot of work with schools, and I know you've been working with our school and some surrounding schools for a number of years with a program called the Olympia Women's Leadership Institute. That's a program that encourages young women to take on leadership roles and help really just reach their full potential. Can you elaborate a bit more for our students who are not familiar with that program on what it is and why you chose to become involved?
Absolutely. Olympia Snow recognized that women in particular struggle at a certain age with their confidence levels. And so she wanted to create a program that worked and nurtured sophomores through their senior year and develop those skills that would hopefully set them on for a path for success. I believe there's 63 or 64 schools that participate, and they are classes that start as a sophomore and they stay with the same group and the same 2 mentors right through until graduation year. And that was appealing to me, is to develop that relationship and see that progress and hopefully be a support system to those girls until they ventured onto their next step in life.
So for our students who are not familiar with who Olympia Snow is, she's a former United States Senator from the state of Maine. It's sometimes surprising how quickly time goes by.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention that, but obviously she's someone who's experienced a lot of successes in life, as have you. But my next question is on the topic of failure, if we can go in that direction. I know I've experienced a lot of failures in my life, and I'm usually pretty open, I think, with our students about what those are, because I think I can look back, I'm not ashamed of them, and I can point to how some of those failures helped spring me in a direction maybe that led to more success. Instead, I see those as learning opportunities. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some failures that you've experienced in your life and how those have led you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first ones out of the gate is I've been on my own since I was 15 years old. I'm a high school dropout, and I was fully responsible for myself financially from that point forward. Came from a tumultuous home life and made the decision that I was probably better off being out on my own and fully responsible for myself. And it was a tough choice, and it could have gone a variety of directions. But thankfully, I was able to, I started working full time for a law firm. And I think it's really about what your choices are and the direction that you want to take yourself, and surround yourself with good people. So even though some may view being a high school dropout as a failure, I think that it's about how you turn it around. There's a situation probably about 8 years ago where I was working for a company, and the company was a disability insurance company, so they were responsible for getting income out to those that were injured. And the company that I was working for, was responsible for their data in order to create the checks that get mailed out to their individuals. I made a huge mistake. We changed companies on who printed their checks, and I didn't fully understand their programming. And that resulted in people not getting the income that they were expecting. And that's hugely impactful. I made a call out to my team members to help me so that we could get the checks printed correctly, and then overnighted to individuals so that they would have the money that they needed. It resulted in a $6,000 error. And obviously, it wasn't only a monetary failure, it was also, the individuals that needed the funds had a lack of trust then in their insurance provider. The insurance provider then had a lack of trust in the company that I worked for, and also me individually, because I had failed them. And then, of course, my company was questioning, my performance at that point too, because of my error. The good things that I took away from that, and I think that is significant and key in failure, is to be self-aware. The good things that I took away from that, and the opportunity that I turned that into, was when I put a call out for my team members to assist me, it was 7:00 at night, and every single one of them stayed to support me. So again, it's about who you surround yourself with and the relationships that you develop. Having honest dialogue with my employer following that error to figure out exactly how I remedy that and how I mend that failure and that lack of confidence was significant, and it was key to moving myself forward and being able to distance myself from that. What I did do was applied my learning, sadly after the fact, but sometimes that's what happens, but sadly after the fact, I applied that learning, rewrote a program manual. And one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is 3 years later, after I'd left the company, they had made the decision to change printing companies for their checks again. And the company actually reached out to me 3 years later and stated that the manual that I had developed made it a seamless process. So there was good learning, and there were a lot of good things that were taken away from it. In the moment, I'm not going to lie, it felt terrible. It was very uncomfortable, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because of the depth of the mistake and the expense of the mistake. But now I'm proud of the fact that it helped people in the future, hopefully prevent them having the same impact that I had caused for them. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. You used a couple of our words there: resilience. Our students would know that's our word of the year. The other one, though, that comes to mind is it seems like you were resourceful. You first of all were able to recognize the mistake, but you also weren't afraid to go to people and pull your team together to help you through that process. And I think that's important for people to know, that when they do make mistakes, or when there are tough times in life, you don't have to deal with it all yourself. And it sounds like you figure that out.
No, that is huge. And like I was mentioning, as far as going to work for that attorney when I was 15 on the border of 16, they took a risk in me, but they also are the ones that set me on the path to develop myself into who I am today. Back at that time, you couldn't get your GED without a letter from your employer. At the age of 17, you had to wait until you were 18. The lawyer that I worked for wrote that letter so that I could get back on the path of education. They afforded me ample opportunity that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So people make a huge difference. And you're right, you're not alone.
Your story's a great one. And I'm appreciative you sharing that, because that's not always easy to talk about those failures. My final question is on the topic of skills. In the position that you have now, you have a real opportunity to help shape the future of the Dead River Store Company and the stores in which you specifically manage. Can you talk about what some of the skills are that you consider when you look and someone who's applying to be one of your employees?
Absolutely. And it's funny because I printed this off when we were talking before we started this. But it's 10 things that take zero talent, but will get you 100% respect. And I don't remember where we saw this, but it was something that one of my team members developed. Being on time, so being punctual, being ethical, showing integrity, effort, so put yourself forward. We had a good example of that the other day. We had a team meeting that started at 7:30. We had some folks who showed up early at 7:15. We park our trucks in the garage overnight while snow and dirt melt off of them and piles up in basically a slippery pile of mud on the floor. And I love the fact that my team members jumped in and started scooping that up and sweeping it up versus being told. So again, it's about initiative. It's about effort. Attitude will go a long way. Body language, being aware of, what your facial expressions are showing, what your eyes are showing. Make eye contact. Being engaged, it makes a huge difference. Doing extra. Again, that's the whole sweeping example. Energy is huge. Are you going to come in like Eeyore? Hopefully you guys aren't too old to know who Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore are. But are you going to come in dragging, or are you going to come in with some energy and show that you're excited? Passion, right there with the excitement too. Do you want to be the best that you possibly can be? Being coachable. This is huge. Are you willing to have someone point out to you what your flaws are? It makes you vulnerable. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. But being able to hear that is all about what will put you on to be a better person too. So we have an adage of, if you don't know, you can't do anything. And that is absolutely true. You have to be able to address your areas of opportunity in order to put your best foot forward. And being prepared. So look at everything as an opportunity. I can't say enough that the good, the bad, the ugly is going to be what shapes you. You have to take advantage of it. It makes you a better person, a more diverse person. And so be the strongest person that you can be in whatever is going to be thrown at you.
Well, Melissa Page, thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do as far as your work, again, with our Olympia leaders, with the Future Professionals of Aroostook, which is another student program. You and I actually will have a chance to work with some students a little bit later on today, this afternoon with that. So we're appreciative of you giving them that time. You obviously have enough responsibilities with your job, but you continue to give back. So we appreciate that.
You're welcome. And anytime your students would like to come over and take a tour of our bulk plant or spend some time with one of our drivers or technicians, have them come on over.